The Black Channel. We connect the dots between all the points of money, power, and white supremacy. The Black Channel is live. Unapologetic, unadulterated, and absolutely uncompromising. Greetings, brothers and sisters from around the world, and welcome back to the home, the haven, the stronghold, and the everlasting superfortress of intelligent black thought. We are the Black Media. This is the Black Channel. I am the Black Authority. And you are listening live to the only historically black college and university of higher education and learning in the entire cosmos. You are, of course, welcome to join us. And join us you shall, because on tonight's program here, man, I'm telling you, in the words of Phil Collins, never thought so much can happen, just shooting pool. Got a lot we need to go ahead and cover here tonight, and I was just doing this up until the very last minute, so you'll all have to forgive me. But definitely we've been hard at work over here. Now, let me go ahead and deal with a little side issue here first. The Ice-T DOC situation, or should I say the DOC Ice-T situation, I will not be addressing that here on the Black Channel because it didn't occur here on the Black Channel. It occurred on my other YouTube channel, The Business. So anybody looking for any comment there, I'll probably go ahead and address that tomorrow night. But I won't be addressing it here. But before anybody asks, Jason, are you going to say something about it? Well, I do have something I want to say about it, but I'm not going to say it here. So if you want to hear that, you can tune into my other program, and I'll go ahead and address some of those things here. In the meantime, what we're going to talk about here tonight is what I wanted to discuss here before. Boy, I'm telling you, along with everything else I was watching happen, along with everything else I was observing occur here, you all had heard here that newspaper columnist, well, the cartoonist, Scott Adams, who created a character in his own image named Dilbert. Scott Adams decided that the world doesn't have enough white supremacy. And as I told you all years and years and years ago, that basically once they've sat on it for too long, they're eventually going to demand to say the real thing. They're eventually going to demand to say exactly what it is that they're thinking. They will not want to be censored, and they will not want to have to water it down. They're going to want to say exactly what they're thinking. And Scott Adams, who's, been making little comments for years and whatnot, he finally just came out and said what it was exactly that he was thinking. Now, I'm not going to tackle this from the usual angles. Not going to do that. Because I want you to understand what you're looking at, and I want you to understand what you're hearing in its greater context. You all know me. I try to deal with things in their greater context. And the Scott Adams issue here has a much larger context to it if you were not aware. Now, what I want to do is I want to play some of the video itself here for you, because actually the original video was like 57 minutes long. It was a very, very long rant that he goes on here. It's a 57-minute video. So he actually had a much longer one, and he was referring to a Rasmussen poll that basically indicated like 12 or 25% of black people weren't okay with the phrase, being white is okay. Because when you take a look at where that came from and everything, it's actually got some alt-right roots to it and whatnot. But Scott Adams, after all these decades, Scott Adams with his falling down character, because when you take a look at Dilbert, you realize the parallels between Dilbert and falling down. And finally, he was like, screw it. This is it. He's getting old. And what was the point of doing all of this? He's 65 years old now. What was the point of doing all this if you can't come out and say exactly what it is that you want to say? So what I'm going to do here, I want to go ahead and I want to show the video itself here. I want to play some of it. I'm not going to play all of it. I want to play some of it, and then we're going to connect the dots. I'm going to play some of it, and then we're going to connect the dots. Hang on to your hats.
Well, Rasmussen poll had a provocative little poll today. They said, do you agree or disagree with the statement, it's okay to be white? That was an actual question. Rasmussen asked, white and black voters, and probably others, do you disagree or agree with the statement, it's okay to be white? 26% of blacks said no. It's not okay to be white. 21% weren't sure. Add them together, that is 47% of black respondents were not willing to say it's okay to be white.
Well, certainly if you know the context of it, because context is key, if you know the context of it, then yeah, there will be some folks who would have some issues with that if they understand the context of the question, which of course Scott Adams is not delivering here.
That's like a real poll. This just happened.
Now, what you're going to hear him say next here is only the first in a long string of very bizarre statements. And I don't know if he's fresh off the meth or fresh off the pipe or both together. I don't know. But everybody latches on to some other things. I actually listened to what he had to say because you all know me. I watch these things and listen in their entirety, so you all don't have to be tormented by it. And he starts the first of a number of very bizarre, odd, indescribable little statements.
Did you have any idea? Would you have imagined that could have happened? So I realized, as you know, I've been identifying as black for a while, years now, because I like to be on the winning team, and I like to help.
Yeah, you heard that. I've been identifying as black here for a while, because I want to be on the winning team. Well, of course, he doesn't live as a black person. It is impossible for a white person to live or identify as a black person because you don't have to live as a black person. So sloganeering like that doesn't help. And anyway, like I say, definitely, I don't take that statement seriously from him at all. I take that as facetious. It strikes me as more passive, aggressive, white supremacist, hostile statement. So when he says that, take it as what it is, a passive, aggressive, hostile, white supremacist talking. So this would be the same as if Jared Taylor said it. Don't take that statement at face value. He doesn't really mean it. He's being a Sean Hannity, Tucker Carlson, Jared Taylor style white supremacist. That's what he means.
Could have happened. So I realized, as you know, I've been identifying as black for a while, years now, because I like to be on the winning team, and I like to help. And I always thought, well, if you help the black community, that's sort of the biggest lever. You can find the biggest benefit. So I thought, well, that's the hardest thing and the biggest benefit. So I'd like to focus a lot of my life resources in helping black Americans.
Okay, and you wait for him to say what those resources are and what he's focused and what they are. Spoiler alert, not very much detail there.
So much so that I started identifying as black to just be on the team I was helping.
So you call that a benefit? This guy's literally sitting here mocking us. By the way, he might as well work for the Democratic National Committee. He might as well work for them. He said he's been devoting resources, and he says so much so that I identify as black. Symbolism. By the way, did anybody know that Scott Adams identifies as black anywhere? No, because this is not a serious statement. This is sarcasm. This is facetiousness. But by the way, yeah. But if you thought I was joking about it, no, when you talk about those resources, he doesn't actually name anything concrete or tangible.
Team. And I like to help. And I always thought, well, if you help the black community, that's sort of the biggest lever. you can find the biggest benefit. So I thought, well, that's the hardest thing and the biggest benefit. So I'd like to focus a lot of my life resources in helping Black Americans. So much so that I started identifying as Black to just be on the team I was helping. But it turns out that nearly half of that team doesn't think I'm okay to be white, which is, of course, why I identified as Black, because so I could...
I'm about to say, did you see how he called himself there? I thought you said you identified as Black. Well, they don't think it's okay for me to be white. Hold on, wait a second. I thought you just said you were Black. So people, transracialism, if you thought transracialism wasn't a thing, yeah, by the way, he wants to have it both ways.
Started identifying as Black to just be on the team I was helping. Started identifying as Black community. That's sort of the biggest lever. You can find the biggest benefit. So I thought, well, that's the hardest thing and the biggest benefit. So I'd like to focus a lot of my life resources in helping Black Americans. So much so that I started identifying as Black to just be on the team I was helping. But it turns out that nearly half of that team doesn't think I'm okay to be white, which is, of course, why I identified as Black, because so I could be on the winning team for a while. But I have to say, this is the first political poll that ever changed my activities. I don't know that that's ever happened before. Normally you see a poll, you just look at it and you go, whatever. Oh, this is interesting what other people think. But
So the polls talking about to soak the rich, and he didn't have a problem with that. The polls talking about illegal aliens coming to the country, that didn't bother him. The polls talking about removing the English language, that didn't bother him either. None of those have bothered him. A poll by Rasmussen without any real proper context, just simply relating to Black folk, now that bothers him. A poll with the alt-right and the number of white folk who say that Black people are still the biggest issue, that didn't bother him. That didn't bother him. But now he's bothered.
As of today, I'm going to re-identify as white because I don't want to be a member of a hate group. You just look at it and you go, whatever. Oh, this is interesting what other people think. But as of today, I'm going to re-identify as white because I don't want to be a member of a hate group. I'd accidentally joined a hate group. So if nearly half of all Blacks are not okay with white people, according to this poll, not according to me, according to this poll, that's a hate group. That's a hate group. And I don't want to have anything to do with them. And I would say, based on the current way things are going, the best advice I would give to white people is to get the hell away from Black people. Just get the fuck away. Wherever you have to go, just get away. Because there's no fixing this. This can't be fixed. All right, this can't be fixed.
All right, so basically that was what got him in trouble there. That's what got him in trouble because he was too blatant. It would have been okay if he had kept it codified. It would have been all right if he had kept it codified, but he couldn't do that. After all these decades of bottling it in, he was just ready to let the real thing come gushing out, come vomiting, projectile vomiting out. He couldn't stand it anymore. So you all notice that the closer that we get to reparations and concrete tangibles, the more that the white supremacists start dropping the code words and coming out with their hands up, which is what I told you all years ago. By hands, I'm talking about their fists up. They're coming out with their fists up. They can't afford to be blatant. They can't afford to be codified anymore. They can't really afford to be subtle anymore. Now they're just coming out with it. And in his case, he's 65 years old, and unlike old niggas in Black society, Scott Adams is willing to risk it all. He's willing to lose it all in order to maintain white supremacy. So you see, for Scott Adams, $70 million $70 million is enough. You got NBA and NFL athletes with hundreds of millions looking at you, LeBron, and will not do a third of this. Kyrie Irving was the closest we've seen. You got fellas out here with hundreds of millions of dollars. And celebrities, entertainers, politicians, business people. I ain't just talking about the entertainers. They've gotten old and up in age, and the older they get, the more they turn against us. But this fella right here, as he's gotten older, he's like, man, screw it all. I'm going to pull it. If I'm going to give it, I'm going to give it all now. I'm going to give it all now. But I want us to think about this a little more comprehensively, hemispherically, and universally. That's the way I want you to think about this for a moment. Let's be very, very clear. Scott Adams is worth tens of millions of dollars. He's made millions and millions of dollars because of a white monopolistic economic system. An economic system that gives default preferential treatment to you for being white. You are not the most intelligent. You are not the most seasoned. You are not the most capable. You're certainly not the most talented. But if you are white, there is a social program in place that when you show up, you'll be the black folk can be a manager in 20 years. You'll be a manager in 6 months. Everything is calibrated and engineered for the purposes of putting you in an unearned preferential placement. Scott Adams has been the beneficiary of the Gannett News Service. He has been a cartoonist who has been subsidized by the Gannett News Service, the Tribune News Service, the New York Times, and everyone else, Los Angeles Times, all these newspaper outlets over the last 30 years or so. He's been a beneficiary of that system. The same way that white guys on YouTube, I'm gonna say it, are beneficiaries of the system here. When I played that video last night from Cardi B talking about Mr. Beast, and Logan Paul and Jake Paul and Mr. Beast, these guys were all helped by the system. YouTube, you want to talk about a hate group, Scott Adams? Why don't we discuss the Gannett News Service as a hate group for its promotion and benefits to you without you having to earn it? Can we discuss that as a hate group? How about YouTube and Google and Alphabet as a hate group that selectively targets white people for promotion and benefit to make sure they get not millions. People, let me be very, very clear right now. We ain't talking millions anymore. We're talking billions now. We're talking billions. When you take a look at Mr. Beast, YouTube has promoted him to the point that ostensibly his business ventures could eventually here shortly add up and calculate up to over $1 billion. When you talk about his YouTube, sure. Merchandising, sure. What about Mr. Beast Burgers, his hamburger chain? What about Mr. Beast Foods? I've been to several Walmarts across this nation. Yes, Mr. Beast on YouTube. Yes, that Mr. Beast. He's got a string of hamburger restaurants called Beast Burgers. And if you go to Walmart, I've been to several Walmarts across this nation in the past 4 months. Mr. Beast, his candy bars are stocked at all of them. Black folks still sitting up here marching, protesting, rallying, and every damn thing else to get in these places. Mr. Beast candy bars are already on deck. And I'm not talking about just a little slot. They got a slot on the candy aisle, and then they got like a kiosk up front. This is Mr. Beast. White folk are making sure, okay, if we give black folk $3, we're going to give white men $300. Not $30. We're going to give them $300. $300. Correct. Logan Paul and KSI and everything they do. YouTube promotes it, puts it on the front page, boosting the algorithm. Whether the content that you watch is adjacent to them or not, if you come to YouTube, you will see Mr. Beast, you will see Logan Paul, you will see PewDiePie, you will see Joe Rogan. If you come to this website, they will make sure you are regularly brought into content with white folk. Whether the content that you watch is adjacent or related to them or not, they are constantly promoting them. Now, over here on our side of the fence, it's exactly the opposite. YouTube is a corporate hate group. They suppress us. They hide us. When you take a look at my channel's recommendeds in my analytics, the only place that YouTube recommends me is on my own videos. That's even on my other YouTube channel. The only place that I am suggested and recommended is on my own video page. And that's the few times they do that, because on my own video pages, including the page you all are looking at right now, take a look at the suggested and recommendeds. You're going to see some white folk up on there. But what they're not doing is saying, okay, well, if Jason Black's page is good enough to recommend these white people on his page, why am I not good enough to recommend on these white folks' pages? So they're constantly trying to attack our audience, even to the point of not notifying my subscribers, the people who clicked the button and said, hey, I want more of his content. They don't notify you when I'm on. That's a corporate hate group. And nobody discusses it in that way, because this is not an anomaly. This is not a flaw. This is the system working properly. You all remember Vanessa Black? It's Friday. Got to get mayonnaise on Friday. And remember, I did that thing, a decade ago, talking about the fact that, by the way, that song and her video that was all done by a service by this black fella. And she got tens of millions of views and whatnot, so they tried to make a star out of her lame ass. But the black fellow who owned the company that makes those jingles for these parents who pay for it, they didn't boost him. They didn't make him a centerpiece of anything. Now, had he been white, YouTube, Google, Twitter, and everybody else would have been helping him, boosting him, and every damn thing else. And this is literally millions of dollars. I want you all to listen to this next part, because this, I told you all over a decade ago, the root of white supremacy's power is not religion, education, all the rest of that is beneficiaries of it. The root of white supremacy's power is its economy. It is its finances and control thereof. But the key is that you have to be given preferential treatment, so you get spotted, not hundreds, not thousands, millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars of absolutely free promotion, absolutely free marketing, absolutely free boosting. Everywhere you go, whether it's the Kardashians or whatever, they're getting literally tens of millions of dollars even after they become rich and affluent. The preferential treatment in the amounts of millions of dollars continues to come rolling in. Black intelligence, you're absolutely correct. I'm going to get to that in a moment here about Elon Musk and Scott Adams. But yeah, they're not giving them the Kanye West treatment. Kanye West put up one post and that was curtains. They're not giving them the Kyrie Irving treatment, and they're not giving them the Kanye West treatment either. We're going to come to that. We're going to come to that. But I want you to understand how this works. Scott Adams has been the beneficiary of millions and millions of dollars of unearned preferential treatment to make sure he could not fail in attaining his position. Now that he's got that position, he's turning around and empowering the system. He doesn't need the money anymore. He doesn't want to be a cartoonist anymore. He just wants to float on the money now. You don't have the ability to punish him directly in the system. And are the bank going to come around and say, yeah, your money's no good here? Are they going to come do that? because Scott Adams doesn't care about Dilbert anymore. He's a retired cartoonist. Not a cartoonist. He's a retired cartoonist. Before he died, Charles Schulz didn't even make the Peanuts comic strip anymore. He had 3 other people that he paid to do the cartoon strip for him, for those of you who don't know. Before he died, Charles Schulz, in the last decade or two before he died, he wasn't even making the Peanuts cartoon strip anymore. He was paying other people to make it for him. Same thing with Hank Ketchum. He didn't do the strip anymore either. We can go down the list for these long-term comic strip people in the newspapers. They were getting millions and millions of dollars from Gannett Tribune and the other newspaper syndicates. And then they made sure these folks were papered up out of this world. And after they could make other white folk papered up, and then they just sat back and collected the wealth. They just sat back and collected the wealth. And they've continued to do so. Now you've seen it bleed over into YouTube. So if you black and trying to make it, they gonna squelch you. There's a few Marquez Brownlees and 1,000 Mr. Beast and Logan Paul. And that's not by accident. It's rigged to do this. So you've got Steven Crowder and Tim Pool and every other white supremacist you can name, quote unquote, discussing the news, but they bury the new black media. So these white boys get suggested with no problem. We get buried. It's not an accident. It's deliberate. And here's the real issue. It's taxpayer-subsidized. All these companies are getting millions and billions of dollars in taxpayer subsidies, directly and indirectly. Which is what brings me to what I'm talking about here next. Because what comes up here next, okay, Scott Adams says something that is clearly, blatantly white supremacist to the point that newspapers across the country, after all these decades, have started dropping his newspaper strips, which ain't gonna hurt him at this point right here, but they're dropping the newspaper strips, and guess who comes running to Scott Adams' rescue? Well, here we go again. Elon the Afrikaner Musk, sitting on billions and billions of dollars. We're going to come back to the source of that in just a few moments here. Guess who comes to his defense and minces no words? That he defends Scott Adams and says the media is, quote, racist against whites. Elon Musk. Elon Musk. Nobody's giving him the Kanye West treatment. Where are the banks to say, Elon, your money is no good here? Where are they? Where are the banks to give him the Kanye West treatment? I'm talking about real damn punishment. Where are they? Because Elon has been standing 10 toes down on every single thing he said. He's never backed down in his hatred towards black folk and his slights against black people. He's never backed down, never apologized, and yet, where's the Kanye West treatment? We saw what they could do to Kanye in a single week, and yet we saw what they could do to Bill Cosby in a single month. They were able to whack Kanye in a week and whack Cosby in a month. Elon Musk is still standing and hasn't lost any support, including government support. Don't be right there in a minute. Oh, absolutely. So I wanted you to see that right there. So you see, this is the kind of support that Scott Adams gets. He doesn't have to hold a GoFundMe and pass the hat. The economy is already in place. The economic fortress is already in place. And when you got Elon behind you and he's letting you know he's holding it down for you, then you can just ride out and weather the storm. But this was the whole reason for them getting their money together like this, so that they could establish this kind of protection racket. So in case you were wondering where Is there anybody stupid enough to support him? Yeah, there is, as a matter of fact. Yeah, there sure is. There sure is. Making no bones about it, making no apologies about it. Making no apologies about it. Now, as you'll all remember here, Elon Musk has allegedly been catching the heat lately. And, about vaccines and everything else. He's nobody's golden boy. As a matter of fact, he had packed up out of California and moved Tesla's headquarters to Texas because he ain't gonna take no guff. So yeah, he's just telling all y'all, screw you, I'm doing my thing. He's dissing California. He was dissing the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, and Gavin Newsom was firing back at Elon. He fired back at Elon and said, Tesla is a California corporation. There would be no Tesla without California because you've gotten billions of dollars in subsidies from California. So these white men are out here slugging it out in the streets. It's a war of words. Folks are getting dissed. It's paint getting thrown around. Man, everybody's out there doing that. That's what it looks like. So they're letting you know there's animosity in the streets. There's animosity in the streets. There's animosity in the streets. That's the thing I want you to understand. So they're telling you there's animosity in the streets. There's animosity in the streets. There's so much animosity in the streets that this is what happened this week. There's so much animosity in the streets between Elon Musk and Gavin Newsom from COVID. There's so much animosity that guess what? Elon just announced that they're moving their headquarters back from Texas to California. And California has already rolled out the welcome mat with more subsidies and more incentives. So if you want to know why it is that Elon Musk feels very confident to toe the white supremacist line for any of you bootlicking Negroes who are sitting up here kissing Gavin Newsom's white zaddy ass, by the way, this your man. This is his man. This is his man. No, it's not any way the wind blows. The wind blows in only one direction. I've been telling you all for over a decade now. Open your ears and listen. Liberal, conservative, moderate, libertarian, Democrat, Republican, dumb idiots in black society sit up here and get into gang fights and knife fights over those labels. Those are nothing but symbolic labels in white society. They pick up and put on those labels like a jacket, and they take them off like a jacket too. 1 minute they're liberal, the next minute they're, quote, conservative, the next minute they're Democrat, the next minute they're Republican, the next minute they're libertarian. You're the ones who take it seriously. These folk understand that ain't what it is. It ain't what it is. What they mean when they say liberal is not what you mean. What they mean when they say conservative is not what you mean. What they mean when they say Democrat, which is why it's ignorant and idiotic for a black person to talk about themselves as Democrat or Republican, what you mean as Democrat or Republican is not what they mean. They mean something different. These were terms that were not created by us. Therefore, they are terms that don't apply to us. The folks who created those terms, those are the people it applies to. If you all agree with what I'm saying here tonight, give me the fire emoji in the chat room and hit the likes button. It's over 5,000 people sitting in here watching live. YouTube wants to act like folk don't agree with this. You've been hearing what I've been saying. Hit the likes button so we can let folks know. People agree with what we're talking about. 5,000 people in here, we should have 5,000 likes because they can't hide that, and let people know, hey, people agree with what we're saying here. We're not some pirate radio station out in the Pacific Ocean. We speak for the black street. It's not hyperbole when I say this is the black media. We speak for the black street. So let YouTube know we here and we real and you agree with this. And let Scott Adams see. By the way, yeah, the street agrees with this. YouTube doesn't control it. The street agrees with this. Even if it's just your first time ever, make sure you've done it one time and hit that like button one time. Make it light up so you can see you made a difference. So in California, Gavin Newsom has rolled out the red carpet, bygones be bygones. Boy, I'm telling you, it's like a rap beef, isn't it? No, I'm sorry. Rap beefs are more serious. Rap beefs are more serious. California and them, they've had their little back and forth with the words, and when that's all over, they literally are shaking hands and doing business. And let me be clear with you all, this was just a matter of days ago. This is just a matter of days or a couple of weeks ago. This is recent. This is not old news. This is not ancient news. This just happened. This is after Kanye. This is after Kanye. This is after Musk said he would allow Trump back on Twitter. This is after that. And look who's shaking hands with him. The so-called liberal of liberal California. Look who is literally shaking hands with Elon. Elon with no damn fear, and Elon is just one among many. But I want to go further into this because this is the job of the black media. So I want to go further into this. And what I would like to do first is I would like to take a look into Elon. I'd like to take a look into Elon here, because there are some lessons to be learned. There are some lessons to be learned. The Los Angeles Times, back in 2015, they had a story that they did on Elon back in 2015 that Musk's growing empire is fueled by $4.9 billion in government subsidies. This was back in 2015. This wasn't yesterday. This is back in 2015. So this has always been the way he's done business. Always. Not millions of dollars, folks. Billions of dollars. Billions. He didn't start a small company and make it big. He started a big company. He was basically given the funding for a big company and was allowed to become the richest man on the planet. You can't name a black person anywhere who's been spotted that much lead time. These are our tax dollars at work, and I'm not talking about California. I'm talking about the federal government. Now, what I want to do is read to you some of this article from 2015, and then we're going to have an update. It says, Los Angeles entrepreneur, don't you mean South African, Afrikaner, entrepreneur Elon Musk has built a multi-billion-dollar fortune running companies that make electric cars, sell solar panels, and launch rockets into space. And he's built those companies with the help of billions in government subsidies. Tesla Motors Incorporated, Solar City Corporation, and Space Exploration Technologies Corporation, known as SpaceX, together have benefited from an estimated $4.9 billion in government support, according to data compiled by The Times. The figure underscores a common theme running through his emerging empire, a public-private financing model underpinning long-shot startups. So as black people, when you want to start a business, they direct you to the SBA and some minority loan program you got to fight against white women to get. But for Elon Musk, oh no, there's a great big old huge door that he gets to walk through, and he doesn't get 10 or 20,000. He gets 3 and 4 billion to support his programs. In other words, all he has to do is come to the government with an idea. And then they take our tax dollars as black folk and give it to this white supremacist. All he shows up with is an idea, and then they fully fund his idea. Now, your ideas are not good enough. You don't have a good enough idea for the federal government or the state governments to fund you to the tune of 500 million, 2 or 3 billion. Your ideas aren't good enough. His idea alone, the Boring Company, his ideas alone are good enough to get access to the taxpayer dollars. And then, of course, he uses those taxpayer dollars in the most responsible way possible, of course. Heil Hitler. He uses those taxpayer dollars in the most responsible way possible, of course. Talk about your tax dollars at work. They go on to say here that Tesla and SolarCity continue to report net losses after a decade in business. This was back in 2015. But the stocks of both companies have soared on their potential. Musk's stake in the firms alone is worth about $10 billion. SpaceX, a private company, does not publicly report financial performance. So let me get this straight. NASA and the U.S. Air Force are funding SpaceX. They fund and subsidize SpaceX, but SpaceX doesn't have to report their finances, even though they are the direct beneficiary of taxpayer dollars. They don't have to report their finances. So in other words, the federal government has financed Elon Musk setting up a private company. While telling you and me that there's no money for reparations, there isn't even money to get the descendants of the slaves their money back for 40 acres and a mule or the dissolution of the Freedmen's Bureau, the Freedmen's Bank. But Elon Musk can get billions without asking, and he's not even a native-born American. Musk and his company's investors enjoy most of the financial upside of the government support while taxpayers shoulder the cost. The payoff for the public would come in the form of major pollution reductions, but only if solar panels and electric cars break through as viable mass market products. For now, both remain niche products for mostly well-heeled consumers. Musk declined repeated requests for an interview through Tesla spokespeople, and officials at all three companies declined to comment. Now listen to this next part. This is back in 2015. New York State is spending $750 million to build a solar panel factory in Buffalo, where black folk got shot up at the store by Peyton Gendron, for SolarCity. The San Mateo, California-based company will lease the plant for $1 a year. Let me say that again. New York State is spending $750 million in 2015 to build a solar panel factory in Buffalo for Elon Musk's SolarCity. SolarCity will lease the plant for $1 a year. $1. They go on to say it will not pay property taxes for a decade, which would otherwise total an estimated $260 million. So let me get this straight. In New York State, they were willing to give billions of dollars for Amazon to build their second headquarters in Long Island City, in Queens, because we got to gentrify Queens like we did Manhattan and Brooklyn, and real estate developers don't have enough. We got to have the government step in. So they were willing to spend billions of dollars to help Amazon build a second headquarters in Queens. A second headquarters. Then they've got $300 million to spend to house as many illegal aliens as want to come to New York City. Then they've got $750 million to dump on Elon Musk for some screwball idea of solar panels, which solar panels have been around for decades and they're not viable. But the state is going to spot him that money. He doesn't have to even put in his own. The state gonna spot it and essentially tell Elon, you just run it. And then they're going to turn around and tell black folk, you have to pay a city income tax. You have to pay a state income tax. Elon Musk doesn't have to pay any taxes on his ideas. He can rake in the money, rake in the profits. He doesn't have to spend any money on his ideas. And before the program is over here tonight, you all don't let me forget to explain about his stocks and the real value of them. We'll come back to that. The story here from the Los Angeles Times goes on to say the federal government will also provide grants or tax credits to cover 30% of the cost of solar installations. SolarCity reported receiving $497.5 million in direct grants from the Treasury Department. Now, you all know a bunch of folks who claim that they can sit down and write out a grant paper for you. You ain't had no damn body to tell you they can go to the Small Business Administration and write you a grant proposal for $400 million, $500 million. You ain't never seen that. So let me get this straight. You go to the Small Business Administration and you gamble to see if you can get $10,000 or $20,000. Elon Musk walks in the door and gets $500 million in grants. People, not loans, not loans from the federal government. These are not loans. These are grants. You don't have to repay a grant. For those of you who don't know the difference between grants and loans, these are not loans from the federal government. These are grants. This is just a check up front. Here you go. Here you go. And of course, as you can see, he has put those hundreds of millions of dollars to good use for mankind in general, hasn't he? They go on to say here, since 2006, Solar City has installed systems for 217,595 customers, according to a corporate filing. If each paid the current average price for a residential system, about $23,000 according to the Union of Concerned Scientists, the cost to the government would total about $1.5 billion, which would include the Treasury grants paid to Solar City. Nevada, that's right, the state of Nevada, has agreed to provide Tesla with $1.3 billion in incentives to help build a massive battery factory near Reno, Nevada. As you know, this article was written in 2015, so the Gigafactory has been up and running for years now in Nevada. But just understand, folks, it doesn't cost Elon $1 billion to build these factories. I mean, it doesn't cost him $1.3 billion. I went and checked into it, and on average, it only costs about $1 billion to build these factories. Or at least that's what Elon claims. He claims it costs $1 billion. It probably costs less. But by the way, even if it costs of $1 billion, these states are spotting him far more than $1 billion. They're essentially giving him all his money back plus some. Not just California, not just New York, Nevada, and everywhere else his feet touch ground. Listen, the Palo Alto company, they're talking about Tesla, has also collected more than $517 million from competing automakers by selling environmental credits. In a regulatory system pioneered by California and adopted by 9 other states, automakers must buy the credits if they fail to sell enough zero-emission cars to meet mandates. The tally also includes some federal environmental credits. On a smaller scale, SpaceX, Musk's rocket company, cut a deal for about $20 million in economic development subsidies from Texas to construct a launch facility. I'm talking about SpaceX, not Tesla. We'll come back to that in a minute. Separate from incentives, SpaceX has won more than $5.5 billion in government contracts from NASA and the U.S. Air Force. This article is from 2015, 8 years ago. He didn't just start getting spotted this money. How the hell could you fail as a white man when these people are spotting you $5 billion? It'd be a damn shame if you couldn't be the richest man in the world with them spotting you $5 billion right out the gate. While they're going to tell you that Elon built it himself and pulled himself up by his bootstraps. That's what they'll tell you, while they're telling you the money they don't have for reparations or to finance the descendants of slaves' business and investments. And I read for you yesterday where they want to line up investment for black immigrants, but for us, it's all about oppression and suppression. You damn right. Cut the check. You cutting the check for every damn body else. We should get the biggest one. Cut the check. Cut the check. They go on to say that subsidies are handed out in all kinds of industries, with U.S. corporations collecting tens of billions of dollars each year. Don't you mean white corporations? Ain't no black folk getting billions of dollars. These are white corporations. They say Musk and his investors have also put large sums of private capital into the companies. But public subsidies from Musk's companies stand out both for the amount relative to the size of the companies and for their dependence on them. Government support is a theme of all three of these companies, and without it, none of them would be around, said Mark Spiegel, a hedge fund manager for Stanfield Capital Partners, who is shorting Tesla stock, a bet that pays off if Tesla shares fall. Now, listen to this next part they go into here. Before his current ventures, he made a substantial sum from eBay Incorporated's $1.5 billion purchase of PayPal, the electronic payment system in which Musk held an 11% stake. Soon after, he founded SpaceX in 2002 with money from that sale, and he made major investments and took leadership posts at Tesla and SolarCity. Musk is now the chief executive of both Tesla and SpaceX and the chairman of SolarCity, and holds big stakes in all three, including 27% of Tesla and 23% of SolarCity, according to recent regulatory filings. The ventures employ about 23,000 people nationwide, and they operate or are building factories and facilities in California, Michigan, New York, Nevada, and Texas. Now listen to the next part here, tense talks. The $1.3 billion in benefits for Tesla's Nevada battery factory resulted from a year of hardball negotiations. Tell me more. Late in 2013, Tesla summoned economic, by the way, that 2013, when I was doing my first documentary, 7 a.m., this is what Musk was doing in Nevada. In 2013, Tesla summoned economic development officials from 7 states to its auto factory in Fremont, California. After a tour, they gathered in a conference room where Tesla executives explained their plans to build the biggest lithium-ion battery factory in the world, then asked the states to bid for the project. Did you hear that? We're going to build a factory. Now we want all you states to throw money into it. If you were black, they'd say, look at you Negroes sitting up here begging for money. Look at y'all begging for money. Begging for money. So just understand what you're looking at there. If you tried it, that's what they would say. They go on to say here that Nevada at first offered its standard package of incentives, in this case worth $600 million to $700 million, said Steve Hill, Nevada's executive director of the governor's office of economic development. Tesla negotiators wanted far more. The automaker at first sought a $500 million upfront payment, among other enticements, Hill said. Nevada pushed back in sometimes tense talks punctuated by raised voices. So they're telling us that they were arguing with Elon Musk. He said, give me $500 million in cash plus some other stuff. And they're saying, okay, we wanted to think it over. And they're talking about they were arguing with him. They said they were arguing with him. Now, if you black and you Kanye, they throw your ass out on the concrete. But they're telling you that they were arguing with Elon while there was actually a back and forth. You try raising your voice at these white government officials and see if there's a back and forth. They gonna raise their voice, you gonna raise yours, and they gonna say security. And that'll be the end of that. But that's if they talk to you that long, because the conversation most likely will not go on that long. But we continue. Quote, it would have amounted to Nevada writing a series of checks during the first couple of years, said Hill, calling it an unacceptable risk. With the deal imperiled, Hill flew to Palo Alto in August to meet with Tesla's business development chief, Diarmuid O'Connell, a former State Department official who is the automaker's lead negotiator. People, this goes all the way to the very top. An Afrikaner has come to America, and your black tax dollars have made him the richest man in the world, with the government's officials and former officials, both current and former officials, all sitting there to make sure he gets steered through the right doors. They say we'll only give you $500 million. When they got done, it was well over $1 billion. That's not accidental. He's trying to talk like they really made a good deal against him. No, they didn't. They gave him everything he wanted more. They go on to say they shored up the deal with an agreement to give Tesla $195 million in transferable tax credits, which the automaker could sell for upfront cash. To make room in its budget, Nevada reduced incentives for filming in the state and killed a tax break for insurance companies. So in other words, they took away tax credits for other things like filmmakers so they could give it to Musk. Nevada Governor Brian Sandoval and Musk sealed the agreement in a Labor Day phone conversation. Hill said it was worth it, pointing to the 6,000 jobs he expects the factory to eventually create. The state commissioned an analysis estimating the economic impact from the project at $100 billion over 2 decades, but some economists call that figure deeply flawed. It counted every Tesla employee as if they would otherwise have been unemployed, for instance, and it made no allowance for increased government spending to serve the influx of thousands of local residents. A $750 million factory. Now they're talking about solar plant in Buffalo, New York. And by the way, I'm going to stop here reading this article because it just goes down the list of more money that they were given. Billions of dollars in subsidies. Billions of dollars. And what I'm doing is I'm connecting the dots directly from the white supremacist system of economic tyranny and economic racial monopoly directly to Elon Musk, and then directly to Scott Adams and his white supremacist propaganda rallying the troops. There's a direct line between all of these, leading from one to another, while they're telling you and me what they cannot and will not do. That's the point I want to make. They're telling you and me what they cannot and will not do. This is how serious it is. If you want a little bit more, we can give you that. I put together this graphic right here from Business Insider because you need to know about that. Elon Musk. This is from an article in 2021 titled Elon Musk is Speaking Out Against Government Subsidies. Here's a list of the billions of dollars his businesses have received. So from 2015 to 2021, yeah, he can speak against subsidies now because he's straight. He's okay. Yeah, now that he's gotten his, now all of a sudden, oh, yeah, we don't need no more subsidies. Yeah, because you straight. You take a look at it, and this is just some of them here. SpaceX lands a $2.89 billion contract with NASA in April of 2021. Remember, the article that I just read to you was from 2015. This is updated for 2021. So he already had gotten $5 billion, and now they dumped another $2.89 billion from NASA. But don't worry, NASA's not alone. SpaceX signs a $653 million contract with the Air Force in 2020. This is after 2015. Tesla accepts certain payroll benefits from the federal government's $600 billion 2020 pandemic stimulus because the richest man in the world needs a helping hand still, don't you know? Nevada provides $1.3 billion in tax breaks and other incentives for a new Tesla gigafactory in 2014. We just discussed that one. New York State put $750 million toward a solar city plant in Buffalo in 2016. By the way, how did that turn out in Buffalo in 2016? I'm wondering, how did that ever turn out? For a guy who loves his subsidies and things, I'm wondering how that turned out. Well, Business Insider talks about that too, by the way. They said New York State put $750 million toward a solar city plant in Buffalo in 2016. In 2016, New York State put $750 million toward Musk's planned solar panel plant in Buffalo. About $350 million of those funds were allocated for the construction of the facility, and $400 million was given for equipment. This was in exchange for the company's pledge to spend $5 billion on Solar City, which promised the creation of 5 million new jobs. Then you go down to the next part here, and it talks about more tax credits for Solar City. So they got tax credits, and then they continued to get tax credits more. So he became the gift that kept on giving or kept on taking, depending on how you see it. Over and over again. So that's why I wanted to go ahead and give you an update on that, so you can see exactly how that worked. Or if you want to call it working, while they're telling you what they don't have the ability to do, while they're telling you what they're not able to get done, while they're telling you, ooh, we ain't got it. You're asking for too much. You need to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. That's what you need to do as black folk. And then, of course, Elon is going to make sure that he stays papered up across the board. But it goes a little bit further than that now. I want to bring things a little bit more into relief for you here. And I know I'm throwing a lot at you right now. I know I am. I know I'm throwing a lot. But I want you to understand that when you see somebody like Scott Adams say what he's saying, and then these other folks say what they say, and they've got it with, such vigor, and they're so confident about it, there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. Now, for those of you who don't know, didn't keep up, whatever the case may be, there's plenty of reason for it to have difficulty in that. Plenty of reason for it. But long story short, Solar City has been a money-losing proposition. Solar City has been a money-losing proposition. Solar City hasn't made money. While Elon Musk has been talking about Solar City and whatnot, for those of you who forgot, by the way, Solar City has been a money-losing deal. It hasn't made any money. As a matter of fact, they don't have anything to show for it. They've been sitting up here trying to stall around and shuffle their feet and say, hey, if you give us a little bit of time, we'll see if we can make good on that. But by the way, in case you were wondering, Solar City and all those hundreds of millions of dollars never amounted to anything. And folks in New York and Buffalo will bear me witness. It's never panned out. Nor are they doing a wholesale shakedown to get him to give the money back or to unask some of those benefits. So he's been allowed to walk off with the money, and then, of course, he puts it to excellent use. These are your tax dollars at work in New York. He puts it to excellent use for the cause of white supremacy. Excellent use he does. And then the plan has never worked out. Didn't work out then, not working out now. Didn't work out then and not working out now. But they're not doing to him what they be doing to black folk. If it was black folk, they'd be handling this markedly differently. That is to say, you would have never gotten in the front damn door. You never would have gotten in the door. As you can see from the graphic here, as of 2015, Tesla had sold $517 million in environmental credits to competitors. So this is beyond just their regular profits. SpaceX receives $15 million from the state of Texas in 2014. And that was just that one. But by the way, we would be here for a while if I started talking about everything. We'd be here for a while if I start talking about everything. I'm going to just read one part from this article here on CNN. Just one part of it. They say that without taxpayer support, neither Tesla nor SpaceX would have survived this long, and investors would have had the chance, and investors never would have had the chance to make massive bets on both companies. Don't take our word for it. Ask Musk himself. Billions from regulatory credits. In a tweet last year, this article on CNN was written in 2021. In a tweet last year, Musk admitted that Tesla nearly was forced to file for bankruptcy as recently as 2019. This was before the pandemic. The stock price that seemed unstoppable today had been floundering among investors' justified concern that the company was facing a cash crunch as it had difficulty ramping up production of its Model 3 sedan. Quote, closest we got to bankruptcy was about a month ago, he said in that 2020 tweet. Now they're saying 2020. The Model 3 ramp was extreme stress and pain for a long time. From mid-2017 to mid-2019, production and logistics hell. What Musk didn't say was that one of the keys that kept the company alive was the sale of regulatory credits to other automakers. Environmental regulations require companies that are not meeting emission standards to pay fines or buy credits generated by companies that comply with the rules. And no one had more of those credits to sell than all-electric Tesla. Between 2008 and the first half of 2019, sales of regulatory credits generated more than $2 billion that was crucial to the company's survival. And the increased car sales ever since have resulted in additional credits that Tesla sold for another $3 billion since June of 2019. That allowed the company to show profits sooner than it would have without the credits, lifting the value of the stock. So the federal government and the state governments, they gave this man money. They gave him money, which made them profitable far before time. Far before time. They don't, black businesses, they get Irv Gotti and them get the feds showing up to arrest you. Elon Musk gets a never-ending fire hose of capital infusion ongoing until the business is viable, or at least it just looks like it is. It goes on to say it was really U.S. taxpayers that helped him get through his roughest time, said Dan Ives, tech analyst with Wedbush Securities, who is a bull on Tesla shares today. In 2019, he was still skeptical as the company struggled. Quote, if it didn't have regulatory credits, Tesla would not be the brand it is around the globe, and Musk wouldn't be the richest person in the world, Ives said. Other billions for Tesla. That wasn't the only government assistance for Tesla. In January 2010, the company received $465 million in low-interest loans from the Department of Energy, months before its initial public offering, when it was still in need of cash. So I'm showing you how state and federal governments here have been giving billions of dollars to white men with nothing more than an idea. They certainly don't have the goods. Hey, we want to get this idea off the ground. Well, here's $500 million. People, do you realize how successful black people would be if each of us, if only 1% of our population was eligible for $500 million? If the government treated us the way they do Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, and the rest of these people, they don't spot them thousands. Folks, we talking about reparations and 250,000 while they giving these folks 250 million or 20 billion. Here's your 250,000 and then Musk. All right, the niggas trying to get ahead. Here's 50 billion. Here you go. Here you go. And this was back in 2010. This is 13 years later, folks. 13 years later. They go on to say the company also has benefited from the substantial tax credits car buyers receive when they buy a Tesla or other plug-in vehicles. Though they're talking about the tax credit for electric vehicles, so the federal government is directly subsidizing Tesla with a tax credit. Your child tax credit's a couple $1,000. He gets $7,500 per vehicle. Tesla buyers received total federal tax credits worth an estimated $3.4 billion before the perk disappeared entirely at the end of 2019. Even if that only allowed Tesla to raise prices by half that amount, that's another $1.7 billion in federal help. By the way, y'all know the tax credit's still there. It's still there. They just recently did the same thing they did before. Whenever the tax credit goes away, he lowers prices. Whenever he gets too far above the tax credit, because they have to be sold for a certain price to qualify, the car can't be too expensive. He lowers the price to make sure they still get those credits, so that basically he's being subsidized. He goes right below the amount. So I think the amount now is like $69,000. So he'll lower the price to $67,000. So he gets spotted at $7,500. So they're just giving him an additional $5,000. So he doesn't have to mark up the price $5,000. He can actually lower the price and get more money by lowering it. According to SAM.gov, the government database that tracks federal spending, SpaceX has signed contracts worth nearly $10 billion. None was more crucial than the one the company received just before Christmas in 2008, when SpaceX and Musk were both virtually out of cash. Did you all know this? That contract to fly 12 supply missions to the International Space Station was worth $1.6 billion. The deal was crucial because it allowed the company to complete work on its Falcon 9 rocket, its main workhorse, as well as the Dragon capsule that would carry supplies and eventually crew, said Casey Dreyer, Senior Space Policy Advisor for the Planetary Society, a public interest group advocating spaceflight. Quote, "They were right on the edge of insolvency," Dreyer said. Elon has pointed out that moment they were on the edge, and that helped save the company. Dreyer said the ISS, International Space Station, and other contracts have worked out well for NASA too, allowing the agency to use SpaceX rather than relying on Russians to transport U.S. astronauts. So let me get this straight now. Our tax dollars for NASA have a choice between the Russians, who you're fighting in Ukraine, allegedly, and an Afrikaner white supremacist. Talk about being stuck between the devil and the deep white sea. Dreyer said SpaceX has gotten numerous additional government contracts from NASA, the military, and other U.S. government agencies. It won a $3 billion contract to develop the next vehicle to carry astronauts to the surface of the moon. And Dreyer said SpaceX and other NASA contractors also benefit from the agency's in-kind support, including access to NASA employees and expertise. So in other words, it's just a private-public partnership that favors this white Afrikaner. And what does he do with his immense wealth? There's a direct line between the white supremacist system of economic preferential treatment and the perpetuation of direct white supremacy. It isn't even an indirect line, people. It's a direct line between the two. I went through all the numbers, all the data, all the articles, so I could bring that to you so that you understand when you see this graphic right here and you don't have any sort of black equivalent, recognize this is the plan right here. This is the plan. Kanye gets canceled. Kyrie gets canceled. Elon rolls on. Gavin Newsom, bygones, rolling out the red carpet now. And Elon is showing you, by the way, this is what I'm doing with it. He ain't even hiding it. We were doing better under the John Birch Society. Look it up. At least they had to sneak around a little bit. Elon is putting it on the front damn page and standing on it. And California is saying, oh, well, no problems here. While they're not giving black folk the licenses for marijuana distribution, you can get locked up if you black for distributing marijuana. But when it's time to make the profits, white people only. You damn right. Cut the check. You damn right. Cut the check. You better believe that. Cut the check. For real. But believe it or not, it goes even further. Wait, Jason. It goes even further? Oh, yeah. I'm going to take y'all deep off in the woods. Well, not on the surface. I'm going to take y'all deep in the woods. Because I want you to understand exactly how this works, because this may be the last time I get all of you together here in a place where you can listen intently and hear exactly how this works for individuals like Elon Musk in ways that you simply cannot qualify for and you simply cannot get. You can't get it no matter what you do. You can't get it. We're going to take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break, and when we come back, I'm going to lay this out for you that, by the way, you ain't heard nothing yet. And this goes beyond Elon Musk. This goes for all your white supremacist billionaires and millionaires. These hedge funds that fund these things, Fox News and everything. Oh no, I'm going to bring this down to earth for you in simple, plain, elementary English that you can all understand, and you can explain it to a child, and the child can explain it to you. That's what I'm going to do when we come back. Before I do, I want to thank everyone, and I do mean everybody, who has contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal, CashApp, or Super Chat. Thank you very much for your support. When we come back, we'll be dealing with this and more. This is The Black Channel.
Greetings, brothers and sisters. My name is Joe Jackson. I'm a foundational Black American, and I entered the field of IT with the goal of helping the family globally. The industry's been changing, and I've learned a lot. But how did we get here? How do we navigate issues we face in the workplace? How can we get our house in order? Read The Concept and Intricacies of Being Black in IT, now on Amazon, as well as the best-selling Guide to Being Black in IT. Go to beingblackInIT.com.
Order yours today to experience all the benefits of Ash Kickin' Natural Body Butter with skin so smooth and soft, you'll thank us for it. Shop Ash Kickin' online. That's ASHKICKIN.com.
Higher Life Recruiting and Consulting specializes in direct placement. If your company is looking to hire top talent, or you are looking to start a new career, our network of professional recruiters can help. We provide recruiting, LinkedIn lead generation, access to our professional network, paid job postings, interviewing, and more. Check out our specialized services: information technology recruiting, STEM career consulting, sales recruiting, hiring process consulting for your business, resume writing, LinkedIn profile consultation. Follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn and get higher with us.
D23 Labs can help you find your flow. Revolutionizing healthcare to self-care. D23 making a healthier
Hi, this is Brenda Starr, creator of Poetry with a Purpose and author of the book Pressed But Not Crushed. Pressed But Not Crushed is an anthology of political poems that address current and historical issues in American descendants of slave population and African American population. The book describes slaveries and its residuals, Jim Crow segregation, social depredation, and other relevant issues to American descendants of slaves and African Americans, including the current political climate that does not address our issues.
This is The Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority, and as promised, Let me explain something to you all about how it is that so many of these white supremacists and suspected white supremacists and white supremacist adjacent individuals, yeah, they get billions of dollars, and then they've got other mechanisms that help them and support them because they've got other wealthy institutions, governments and institutions, government agencies are institutions, corporations are institutions, banks are institutions. So after they've gotten their dirty money that was given to them on account of their whiteness, you want to talk about white privilege? How do you protect that? How do you protect yourself after the fact? There's a number of different mechanisms, but one of their favorite ones is when you all go around and you hear about how they do these things where they, with these folks like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos can buy a $500 million boat. He calls it a yacht, but I'll be damned, it's damn near a steamliner. How is it they can go ahead and pay for that, and they can pay for these multi-million-dollar and billion-dollar mansions, and they're telling you that they bought them and it didn't cost them anything or it was tax-free or whatever? The reason for that is because they use loans. But let me explain what the loans are, because most of you don't understand, but after I get done, you will. Remember Musk, Bezos, Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, all these billionaires from Silicon Valley and other places, Steve Jobs before them. What they can do is they can take their stocks and they can go to investment banks. Now, there's only a few that do this. There's only a few investment banks that do this. It's not everywhere, but investment banks have something they're called securities-backed loans. Now, the trick of it is there's only a few investment banks that actually make these types of loans. They're very large ones, but there's only a few. If you want some good entertainment here, go Google that. But there's a few investment banks that make securities-backed loans. The stocks in their companies are securities. So what they'll do is they will sit up here and demand, hey, I want to get a bunch of money. I want to get a bunch of my worth in stock. Don't pay me in money, pay me in stock. What they then do is go to these banks and say, okay, here's $10 billion in stock, and I want you to give me a $5 billion loan. They go take that loan, and then they go buy things they want. Jeff Bezos buys that spaceship, water ship, ocean liner. Elon Musk goes buys a mansion and goes and buys a yacht of his own. So the things that you would pay for in your regular life, they use those loans for. Well, why would they do that? Because loans are not counted as income. Let me say that again. Loans are not counted as income. Well, Jason, why? Okay, I get it. That sounds smart. You would do that as a loan, and then you can go pay your bills with the loan. But Jason, don't loans need to be paid back? This is the special thing about securities-backed loans. Not only do you not have to pay taxes, securities-backed loans do not actually have your standard repayment date. There is no repayment date. It's treated like stocks. Basically, you're taking out something on margin. Those of you who dealt with stocks, margins when you get a loan from the trading company that you're dealing with. So Elon and Jeff Bezos give these investment banks their stock as collateral. The bank gives them a loan. But the securities-backed loan does not have a fixed date of repayment. It's not like your car loan or your house mortgage. It's open-ended. He can repay it whenever. Jason, you mean he can repay it in 6 months? Yes. Jason, he can repay it in 6 years. Yes. He can just sit there as long as his stock maintains a certain value. No, you all can Google this. As long as the stock maintains its elevated value, whatever the value was when you gave it to them, that's the way a margin works, you don't have to pay them anything. In some cases, these loans are given at zero interest. In some cases, they're given at zero interest. Well, Jason, how can I get in on that action? Most of these banks won't deal with you unless you have $1 million at least in securities, stocks. There are some that will talk to you if you got $100,000 to $150,000 in stock. But just understand, you're only going to get a fraction of that as the loan. And it really doesn't make any sense if you don't really have a lot of money to spend. It doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. But for people who want to defer taxes, notice I didn't say avoid taxes. I said defer. Well, Jason, if you're taking out a loan and the loan has to be repaid, then what's the benefit of it? Here's the way it works. Y'all notice that Elon Musk didn't sell any of his stock for a long time. And then 2 years ago, both he and Jeff Bezos sold billions of dollars of their stock to go liquid as the market's coming down. So what you do is you take out the loans when the market is up. You take out the loan when the market is up, when you can get the highest value at the investment bank for your stocks. When the stock starts going down, you then sell some of your other stock, repay the loan to the investment bank, and pay your income taxes off of the capital gains that you sold, because now the stock is at reduced price. Once the stock starts reducing in price, now you can go ahead and start doing a sell-off because the stock isn't worth as much as it was. Well, Jason, aren't they worried about liquidating what they have? Hell no, they own the company. They can always create more stocks. They can always do a stock split or a stock split or reverse split, but usually going to be a stock split. They can always do that. He'll never run out of stock. He controls the damn float. For those of you who understand stock prices and how stocks work, stock jargon, he controls the float, the number of available shares. They can always make more shares. So now you understand they don't get out of taxes, but what they can do is defer the taxes. Why would you want to defer them? You want to avoid taxes when the price is going to be high, and then you want to go pay the taxes when the price is going to be lower. That's the way it works. And for millionaires and billionaires, particularly large companies, this is the way they get down. So when you hear them say that these people use loans, understand this isn't from a regular commercial bank, it's from an investment bank, and they're using the stock as collateral, and these banks are not charging them the way they would charge you for a loan. Hell yeah, you can't do this at all. You can't do this at all. And then, of course, that just makes it more egregious that this is all supported by your tax dollars and my tax dollars through these government institutions and entities, both local, state, and federal. They're all in on the grift. They're all in on the scam to empower and enrich white men. And I ain't just talking about Elon Musk. People in California, go Google Apple subsidies for their headquarters in California. Go Google Amazon subsidies for their headquarters in, Seattle and DC. We can go down the list. Netflix, we can go on and on. Facebook, all of them have been the recipients of direct subsidies and benefits. Intel Corporation, building that plant in Texas. These folks are getting billions of dollars from the state and federal government now, not next year, now, while telling you and me, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You need to earn it. The American semiconductor industry sold their businesses overseas and used Taiwan and anybody else to make money over the course of 3 decades. And now you got the federal government spending hundreds of billions of dollars to subsidize them bringing that stuff back. So let me get this straight. You got money going in, and then you sat up here and you got money as you made it. Then you got money outsourcing. Now we're going to pay you to repatriate the semiconductor factories that you sent overseas in the first damn place because you're saying, oh, we can't trust Taiwan and China? So you sent them over there and made money sending them over there. Now you're going to have our tax dollars subsidized bringing them back because you're like, if the federal government doesn't subsidize us, we're not going to build a factory in America. But if you black and you say cut the check, they look at you like you crazy. They look at you every type of crazy there is when you say cut the check. But these white men don't even have to say cut. I want to take you all deep diving into this. We've been going in it now for almost an hour and a half. That was the reason why I want to take a little bit of extra time tonight to make sure we had all our ducks lined up in a row. New York City is not banging on Elon Musk to get that damn money back for Solar City. They're not making him a pariah because of, for anything else he's done. They haven't made Jeff Bezos a pariah for that sham that was looking at Long Island City in New York. Oh well, no tragedy, no foul. Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, and every damn body else, they can build as they please and they get the money up front. Let me tell y'all something. If the federal government were to subsidize for us as black people and say, look here, you know that old car plant you all have in Shreveport, Louisiana, out there on Burt Coons? The old General Motors plant in my hometown of Shreveport, Louisiana, and that's just one among many. Michael Moore did a whole documentary about it, Roger and Me, Flint, Michigan. They got old abandoned car plants all over this damn country. I should know one of them is from my hometown of Shreveport, Louisiana. They used to build the S10 and the Sonoma. The first generation Chevy S10, first generation Sonoma was what they used to build in Shreveport. But guess what? They got a 25-year tax-free lease on the land. They paid no taxes. Let me say that again. When they built that car plant in my hometown of Shreveport, Louisiana, back in the damn 70s, they had a 25-year tax-free lease. They paid no taxes. General Motors, GM. And I remember waiting until we got to, I think it was the early 2000s. I was waiting for that tax-free lease to expire to see if General Motors would have to start paying taxes again. Don't you all know I got reintroduced to a new term in the early 2000s? Tax renewal. Tax-free lease renewal. Don't you know before the first tax-free lease expired, the city and state got together and said, we're going to renew it. So every other business in the city got to pay taxes. General Motors has been there for a quarter of a century, paid zero taxes to the city or the state. And when it's time for them to pay taxes, you can get it renewed. And then just a few years later, GM declares bankruptcy and closes the plant. Let me say that again. Just a few years after they gave GM a renewal of their tax-free lease, they filed bankruptcy in 2008. Right after you did that. And Shreveport is just one among many. By the way, this goes for the plants that have been closed and the ones that have been created. To my people in Alabama, when I roll out I-20 East, always go by the Mercedes plant. I'll be damned. They make the Maybach GLS at that. If I'm not mistaken, they make the Maybach GLS at that plant in Alabama. They make the Maybach GLS. Not just the GLS SUV, the large size, well, Mercedes version of a large size SUV. They make the Maybach there, not in Germany, in Alabama. And they got all kinds of tax-free leases and incentives there just to build the plant. Same thing with Kentucky and with Honda and Toyota in places like Kentucky and Tennessee. Same thing with Ford in Mason, Tennessee. Same thing with Tesla in California and Texas. No, this ain't no black folk in there. So when we talk about generational wealth, your tax dollars are subsidizing that. Our tax dollars are paying for a German corporation to subsidize them doing business in America, which they would have to do anyway because they're trying to avoid tariffs on foreign-made goods. So as long as the car is built in America, they can avoid tariffs. Why are you subsidizing it? They're going to do it anyway. They're gonna have to pay it anyway. And they're gonna pay it anyway. While they're telling you and me what they can't do. Could you imagine what we as black people could do if we owned a car plant? Right now, the prices of cars are out damn me rageous, and it's not because of supply chain shortages. The supply chain shortages have been resolved. It's not because of semiconductor shortages. Both BMW and Mercedes and now General Motors, they all admit there is no more semiconductor shortage. They've got complete access to all the supplies that they need. But what they're saying is, we'll be damned, we're selling half the number of cars, but because we're able to artificially reduce the price, we're treating them like diamonds. We've now doubled the transaction price. General Motors just announced that they're closing their plant in Kentucky that makes the Silverado. They're closing it for 2 weeks in order to suppress inventory so that they don't have excess inventory. Yeah, they got bailed out, and this is how they're repaying it. Right now, the transaction prices are 50% over what they should be. If we as black folk owned an automotive plant, we'd be taking market share right now. We'd be taking market share. We'd have fly vehicles. They would be stylish. They would be up to date. They'd be technologically innovative. The stereo system would be world class. The engines would be built like tanks, because you know I can't push nothing less than a V8. It's going to be built well. The transmission's going to be in shape. We're going to have a bunch of bougie black women who going to make sure that the interiors are nice and cush with the finest leather. And let me be very, very clear about this. You ain't met nobody who is more refined and more picky than a bougie black woman. Let me tell you, if there's so much as a wrinkle in the leather, she gonna feel it through her BBL. You ain't met anybody, one of these old chicks at your church. She gonna be like, if it smell halfway funny, she complaining. So let me tell you, if we had that, it would be built and rolling. And they know it. So you gonna spot Elon $5 billion. We could take half that and change the damn world, which is why it is imperative that you not be allowed to do that. That's why it's imperative that you not be allowed to do it. Let me tell y'all something. You haven't heard an audiophile who is more meticulous about music than a middle-aged black man. Let me tell you, if the bass and the mid-range and the tweeters ain't on point, we gonna let you know. We pioneered doing retrofitting the audio systems in the cars because the manufacturers were putting in them cheap-ass paper speakers for decades and decades. It was black men who made Pioneer speakers a name. It was black men who made JBL speakers a name. It's black men who made Pyramid Audio a name. It's black men who made 12-inch speakers and 15-inch speakers the thing to do. Correct, Alpine, we made them a name because we knew crappy audio and we said General Motors can do what they do. We gonna build something real. After we made it a thing, guess what General Motors did? They started contacting Bose, and other car makers started contacting Bang & Olufsen and Burmeister. And now all of a sudden, they stepped their game up damn near 20 years after we replaced all the stock systems. That was black men who made that a thing. While they trying to tell you about being low class, we couldn't even stand low class audio. We're the ones who did that. We're the ones who did that. And we would do it on a whole bigger level. Let me tell y'all, there are black men right now who engineer audio speakers. They would, if they have more money to engineer it, they would be kicking the hell out these other folk. They'd be kicking the hell out of them. But this is why it's engineered to be the way it is. This is why it's engineered to be the way it is. If we had a car plant that we owned as black people, that thing would be stout. Correct. 20-inch wheels. No, 22s, not 20-inch, 22s. Everybody remembers back in the 90s, they looked at you crazy if you had 20s or if you had 22s. Both my Escalade and my Navigator had 22s. For the last decade now, that's been standard. On the Escalade, on the Denali, on the Expedition, on the Navigator, now on the Jeep Grand Wagoneer, 22-inch wheels are standard. They told us that was ghetto. Remember? They told us that was ghetto. When we pioneered that, they said that was ghetto, that those little skinny tires, oh, you people don't understand automotive engineering and balancing them. Now those tires are standard. And you don't hear anybody saying anything bad about the engineering or how they contact the road and handle on the road. Yes, because 22-inch wheels are superior to road handling than 18-inch wheels. It is what it is. So now it's standard to have anything from, you correct, 22s to 24s. That's standard now. That's standard. But when we did it, they told us we was ghetto and this, that, and the other. When we did it, they told us that was ghetto. So let me get this straight. When we beefed up the wheels, that's ghetto. When we put chrome on everything, when we put chrome trim on everything, that's ghetto. When the pimps and the players back in the day redid the insides of the cars and put the plush seats, that was ghetto. Tinting the windows. Only gangsters and drug dealers do that. They sell all these damn luxury SUVs with tinted windows now. Have you seen the new Range Rover? Have you seen the Maybach GLS? Have you seen the G-Wagon? They all come with tinted windows now. Chromed out to hell now. Yeah, the TVs on the rear headrest, they was making jokes about Cash Money Records. I'm Still Fly. Today it's standard. We've always been ahead of the curve. Always. Neon lights on the inside of the car. Now they call it ambient lighting. When we did it, it was ghetto and silly and childish. Today, BMW and Mercedes call it ambient lighting. When we did it, it was ghetto lighting. When they do it, they rename it. It's ambient. All you did was make it where the thing can change colors with the LED. We could have done that if we had the LED technology back then. But ours is ambient, Negro. It's ambient lighting. You wouldn't understand. No, I do understand white supremacy. I understand it just fine. I understand it just fine. I could go down the damn list with y'all right now. I could go down the damn list. That's if they gave us just one. That's if they just gave us just one. We be running 3 shifts, full-size SUVs, and we be taking market share right now. While the rest of these folks trying to play monopolistic games, we be taking market share. Either that or they'd all have to do triple shifts to try to keep up with us and get the prices back down and think they're going to drive us out of business. We'll get the prices real low and that'll make y'all have to go out of business. Yeah, that would only work if we could, unless we could just keep getting government subsidies like y'all did. Now, if they keep subsidizing this, you won't be able to put us out of business. Then you'll have to give up and have to start competing fairly. And then it's going to be a level damn playing field from here on in. But let's be clear, that's the way it is everything. The game is rigged everywhere. You would not have a system of white supremacy where white people are always, always, always at the top, always, always, always outrageously more financed than everybody else. It doesn't work that way unless it is engineered. It's mathematically impossible to end up in this persistent situation if it isn't engineered. So when you hear about Scott Adams and Dilbert, when you hear about this kind of thing and see this kind of thing, I want you to understand the real game at play here. That this is a part of a system. Money to gain power, power to protect money. For all my mafioso heads. It ain't accidental, and Elon is just one among many. He is not an exception in the corporate hierarchy. He is the rule. He's just the one at this point right now. He's so flush with cash. He's just like, you know what? Screw it all. I can just say whatever I want to. I got so much money and wealth now. You can't punish me. Here's the issue now. It's not a matter that you can't punish him. They don't want to punish him. They're helping him. They're rolling out the red carpet in California after he's been agreeing with a bunch of anti-black posts on Twitter. This is after he's done that. No less than Gavin Newsom, for all the ski-wee boneheads, thought that he was going to replace Kamala Harris with a black senator. You are a special kind of stupid. All you Kamala Harris supporters, you're a special kind of dumb. You're not just dumb, you're a special elite level dumb. Gold medal winning dumb. Trophy winning dumb. Or maybe you're just treasonous. Maybe it's just that. I guess we can find out here. So, the telephone lines are now open. The number is 646-787-1933. That's 646-787-1933. Your personal access code to the black media. I know we've been 10-ton super heavy tonight. This is the place that deals with the X's and O's. This is the place where we deal with the news. Notice nobody's sitting here with folks sitting up here throwing around ebonics and talking about the latest rap albums and whatnot. We're talking about hardcore news and information. And if you allow these other folks to tell you they swear that we don't exist. They are terrified to death of a black intelligentsia that moves in this manner. You got thousands of people listening to me right now, and you didn't come here for any other reason than to hear the power dynamics that you hear everywhere else. But these other outlets don't talk like this. They don't talk like this. They never have. And they're afraid to. They never have, and they're afraid to. So they'll throw out Tamron Hall or somebody else like that who's not going to say anything or do anything on our behalf. They going to sit up and try to give you their version of BET. When we start talking, we're like, hey, ain't we supposed to be owning BET? Shut that nigga up. Shut him up. Pull his mic. Shut that down. Pull his mic. See, that's the reason why YouTube promotes certain people. You see, you can be the damn immigrant gorilla, or you can be Cardi B, and YouTube is going to give you hundreds of millions of dollars of support. They're going to make sure you got it. They're going to make sure you have it. Because they want to make sure that you don't change the status quo. That's the whole point. That's not accidental either. The Black Channel, we get censored all the damn time. Cardi B has more than one video on YouTube. Literally right here on YouTube. 100% triple X rated pornographic. Pornographic. Direct violation of their community guidelines. Direct violation. She's got videos on YouTube with full frontal nudity. For those of you who don't know, Cardi B has videos, music videos on YouTube. You can look them up right now. I can't show them to you. I'll get dinged for it. But her, on her YouTube channel, oh yeah, she's got videos with full frontal nudity. Been there for years. Years. They talked about BET After Dark. Oh yeah, and monetized. Not only does she got full frontal nudity, it's monetized. She ain't the only one. Robin Thicke, he got a video like that too. Been on there for years. YouTube has channels on this website that show full frontal nudity. But we'll sit up here and ding your channel. If you show some chicks twerking, they'll ding your channel and say, oh, that's sexual content. And Cardi B isn't? That's not art. What the hell are you talking about? But you see, she needs the alley-oop because they understand she's weak. So she's got to have this never-ending fortress of support and reinforcement. It's not accidental. It never is. It's never been. But when you show up, here come the rules. So when I tell you all that we need to have reparations across the board, I'm talking about everybody need to cut their check. Everyone who's been practicing racism against the descendants of the American slaves, this systemic institutionalized racism, everybody got to cut their check. Google, Facebook, Twitter, Elon, you got to cut this check. I don't need your apologies. I don't believe you. Cut that check. I'll call that your apology. Harvard, Stanford, Yale. All of y'all got a check to cut. Facebook, Twitter. Wish MySpace was still around. Hit you with yours. Never mind, News Corp bought them. Here, cut your check. Tesla, General Motors. All of y'all got a check you need to be cutting. You think we're going to confine this to just one small area? Oh, no. All of you have been beneficiaries and collaborators. Everybody got a check to cut. Everybody got one to cut. Everybody. And you gonna boss up with it too. You gonna cut it. That's why they're circling the wagons as hard as they are now and coming out with the most vitriolic tones. They're like, hey man, if this gets started, this starts a new black aristocracy. We ain't never gonna be able to shut this down. You can bring in all the illegal aliens you want. You're not gonna be able to shut this down. The attitude and the mindset has changed. In any case, we're going to go ahead and go to the phone lines. The number is 646-787-1933. That's 646-787-1933. Your personal access code to the Black Channel. If you have been instructed by myself or my mods to call in, that is not a request. That is an order. If you are not on the line, you will be banned. Simple as that. Let me get caller from area code 414. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from? Turn off your speakers, Gumby.
Yes, hello. My name is Bernard, and I'm from Milwaukee. And, man, some really great points that you brought out. Especially, I was just wondering, as you was talking about Elon Musk getting all this government funding, maybe he's getting the pass, for not having a refund all that because he probably knows some, secrets and stuff like that. He probably, doing all his work, especially with, the whole SpaceX thing. And what do you think about this? As far as them trying to flip, what if they try to flip the whole cancel culture to try to demonize black people now for getting Scott Adams, quote unquote canceled? And that
was the whole reason that's the whole reason that Elon bought Twitter. Twitter is to have a free fire zone for for white supremacists to ply their trade. That was the whole purpose. See, this is what white folk do when they get wealth. They get wealth and they don't sit up here and spend on a bunch of strippers. I mean, not all on strippers. They spend on strippers and cocaine, but they keep some money held back. Yeah, they do spend on some strippers and some cocaine, but they keep some money held back. So the war chest remains full. He bought Twitter because it is America's town square, essentially. It's a outlet where it's a large outlet that can distribute you to a large number of people. Ordinarily, you would have to have a radio or terrestrial radio or television station to be able to get the same reach. So he bought that because he understands after all these years, the people who have their internet real estate on Twitter, they can't pick it up and move it. They can't pick it up and move it. Mastodon is not viable. Rumble's not viable. Truth Social's not viable. Twitter is viable. It's already where the people are. All you got to do now is maintain. So, yeah, you've already got that ability. Case in point, Kanye got kicked off Twitter. Elon never did, even under the old management. Elon was never suspended or nothing. To my knowledge, under the old management, they never did nothing to him. He's been talking like that. He's been talking like that. This isn't new. So that was okay then. You know why? Because he's richest man in the world. He can say whatever he wants to. So they never did anything to him then. Kanye, off you go. So we're already in that situation. We were already the subjects of that. The whole point is to make it seem we don't control cancel culture. They do. Who the hell we canceling? Who we canceling? Who do we have the power to cancel? Name them. Who do we have the power to cancel? Who have we canceled? What can we do? We can raise some dust. But as far as taking their opportunities from them, we can do it, but it takes a hell of a lot. It's got to be this huge, organized, concerted effort.
Right, yeah.
But these folk here make a phone call. Endeavor makes a phone call. Yeah, pull Kanye. Yeah, go ahead and do that. All right, bye. Next thing you know, Chase Bank. Yeah, your money's no good here. Twitter up, off you go. Adidas, we pulling the deal. Don't tell me about Adidas getting back with him. That's not going to happen. They just want to wind up that contract. That's all they want to do. They made a damn phone call, and that was it. TV stations, radio stations, every damn thing else. Yeah, we're good. No, you're not. No, you're off social media. Bye. You're off social media. Bye. Yeah, we're done with that. We're done with that. And that's it. One phone call. No marches, no rallies, no nothing. One phone call. Didn't make it up for a vote. No national polls. Do you think Kanye is right? Nothing, none of that. Phone call. Click. Done. That is what you will know when black folk have generational wealth when one black man can make a phone call and shut a white man down. I can show you some white women who made a phone call because I was in Philadelphia when Bill Cosby was on trial. I was in Philadelphia and watched as this unscrupulous district attorney candidate basically said, I'm running for office to jail Bill Cosby. Vote for me. That was basically his campaign platform. No, I'm not exaggerating. Folks in Philadelphia saw it. His campaign platform was vote for me. I'm going to put Bill Cosby in jail. That was his campaign platform. Those were his ads. Vote for me. Bill Cosby going to jail. And he won. So I'm saying, don't tell me a damn thing about black folk and power and generational wealth until one black man's got the ability to pick up a phone and shut a white man down like that. Yeah. Bill Gates, shut him down. That's it. Ben Stiller, shut him down. Yeah, Bill Maher, close him up. Yeah, when we get that ability, then you can talk to me about power and generational wealth. Until then, pass the damn check. Let me get caller from area code 843. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yeah, this is Philip from Buford.
Okay, Philip from Buford, where?
Yeah, I want to bring it back to Scott Adams.
Okay, Philip from Buford, where?
Oh, South Carolina.
Okay.
There's only one Buford, South Carolina.
Thank you very much. That always comes in handy. All right, then. What's on your mind?
Okay, I'm going to bring it back to Scott Adams. Now, I started listening to Scott once Rush Limbaugh got really sick and started having guest hosts because he would be on every day, and I didn't like the guest host for Rush. But anyway, I was there when he first identified as black, and that was just a cringe moment. And, it's pretty much how you summed it up. But I think you should reach out to him and talk to him, because he would actually listen to you. He has this thing where he's in what I call an echo chamber, and the only people hello?
You were saying?
The only people he doesn't, he's very much against reparations, but the only people he talks to, black people, are like Hotep Jesus. That's his like main person. And I don't even listen to Hotep Jesus. Only time I watched Hotep Jesus was when Scott was on there this week.
Okay, here's my thing right here. I ain't got nothing to say to Scott Adams. Scott Adams can pass the damn check. We don't have anything to discuss. What do he and I have to talk about?
All right, so when he said that he has been helping black people for years, this is what he means, because he didn't go into that. He helps people get on to careers, and even if you wanted to get on to like the internet, like he's on his platforms and stuff, he said years ago that if a black person reached out to him, he would put that black person to the front of the line. Now, if I were interested in being on, on the internet or YouTube or anything like that, I would have reached out to him, but I didn't care about that. But he put that out there. I don't know how many people he's helped, because he's the kind of person who's going to be, I guess, modest about that. But you should really, I'm serious, you should really talk to him, and he would answer questions for you, and he would talk to you. But that's what I know about him. I've listened to him really long.
You're saying that as if that's a real thing. Tell me one black person that Scott Adams has helped. If that's a real thing and you really been following it, name one who benefited from him. Name them. Who are they?
Well, Hotep Jesus said point blank 2 days. Well, I think it was yesterday. He had his live with him. It was about 5 o'clock yesterday, and I watched.
Okay, no. Before he got his ass in a bind. If he says he's been doing this for a decade, name somebody before he got himself in the crack. Name them.
No, he has been friends with Hotep.
Okay, sir. There's 40 million of us. Who else you got?
I don't know, because like I said,
okay, thank you. So all you got is the one dude out there who's a well-known coon. All you got is one dude. He's one of them fresh and misfit immigrants, background individuals. So bottom line is all you can name is one guy, and that guy right there is a professional white ass kisser to Joe Rogan and anybody else. That's why I said who else you got? Who else you got besides him?
Look, I was not following what he was doing with that. I just
but you just sat here and vouched for his helping black folk.
I'm saying that
you just sat here and vouched for it.
You could talk to him.
No. You just sat here and vouched.
Yes.
No, you just sat here and vouched for it. If you gonna vouch for it and claim he's got credentials, you need to name those credentials.
I really can't stand him that much. I can't stand him that much.
You can stand him enough to come caping for him now.
I really don't agree with him.
You're caping for him now, so clearly you do.
No, I'm not caping. I'm just telling you where he's coming from.
I know where he's coming from. He's coming from white supremacy. I don't need to talk to Scott Adams. We have nothing to discuss. There is no air to clear. He has shown me who he is. I don't need more clarification.
Well, then why did you spend 2 hours on this tonight if it doesn't?
Because I'm threading the needles of how it is he got where he is, because you can't, in warfare, you cannot disarm someone if you don't know how they're being armed.
But he's not, I can promise you, he has not heard the reparations argument that you made tonight. You talk to him, he's going to have to say something about what you said about all these other folks who got their checks and we need ours.
Brother, I've always wanted to know from you, for all your years of coming in, like, do you need like a sandblaster to be able to scrape white folks' butt hairs off your lips? Like seriously, like do
Well,
you
I mean,
get
what
ingrown
good is it gonna
hairs? Do you get ingrown hairs on your lips from kissing white men's hairy asses? After all these years, do you have ingrown hairs on your lips? I've always wanted to ask you that because you do so much butt sucking. I'm just thinking that's what you got going on. After all these years, like, do you use Blistex? Do you use Blistex like you get ready for it? Do you do lip exercises? After all these years, I'm just curious what you do, to be in Olympic shape, to be able to kiss white folks' asses, feet, and anything else they need sucked on. I'm just curious, what's your routine? Like, are you like Kobe Bryant? You get up at 4 in the morning and start practicing, you get in the mirror. I mean, is that what you do? Or do you have like a mentor who helps you with it? It's, okay, here's what you do. Now what you do is you got to work your jaw out first. I mean, I'm just curious. Like, where do you get your expertise at it?
Well, it's obvious that you are not looking for success with what you're doing or even help with it, because for you to tell us all of this stuff is very interesting. And I mean, I learned a lot from what you had to say, but I promise you, he's listening to people talk. Hotep Jesus said that he said yesterday, his idea for reparations
now he's quoting Hotep
tax
Jesus.
Tax relief. That's all. I mean,
all you do is quote white supremacists
Scott
and
Adams
coons.
is listening to is people who are talking to him, and if you
no,
don't talk
Scott
to him,
Adams is
he's not going to be
listening.
hearing.
Scott Adams is listening to the people that he desires to speak to, because he's a white man with wealth and resources. He only talks to the Negroes who say what he already believes. He's not interested in talking to anyone any different. That's what he has the money for, so he can concoct and construct a fantasy realm where he pretends that there's anybody who agrees with him, and all you get are just well-paid or undermining flunkies like those guys you're naming now and yourself. Me and Scott Adams have nothing to discuss. The only thing I want to discuss is how to defeat him. I don't need to talk to him. I just need to know where he came from, and I only want to discuss how to defeat him. I don't want to come to a meeting of the minds. I've had a meeting of the minds. He and I ain't got nothing to talk about. Get off my phone. We ain't got a damn thing to talk about. I have an understanding with him. He's not a nominee to be in one of my documentaries, except to be pointed out as the white supremacist in charge and cartooning. We ain't got, but as far as understanding, we ain't got nothing to talk about. I already understand him. I just want him to bring me more documentation and more evidence. I don't need to understand him. I already understand him. And he already understands us, which is why he's trying in his futile way to undermine black empowerment. Caller from area code 346, you're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, Jason. This is Nick from Chicago by way of Houston on my business line.
Nick from Chicago, what's on your mind?
Yeah, I just wanted to add in on Elon Musk 2 points. One of them is that just even more information on what you said. He had what he calls the master plan that he releases. I used to be a Tesla stockholder and basically pretty much sold it near the all-time high. And back there in, I think, 2017, 2018, he was on that Trump board. And right after he couldn't work with Trump or something like that, he said, quote unquote, unfortunately, I have to work with lobbyists. Long story short, when he said he wanted to start lobbying and whatnot, he went out to one of his calls or whatever, the board meetings with the investors, and he said, this is how I'll be the richest person in the world. And he basically did some kind of bet, basically what you were breaking down with taking the securitized loans and everything like that. And he said, it's an all or nothing deal, and I'm going to do this in less than 10 years. And he was basically doing this as a, hey, I'm doing another funding round to people to give me some money, or else I either hit this number for the stock, which he did, or we're going to go belly up and I'll take a hit and basically he'll get paid no bonus. It wasn't like he was going to go broke, but the company could dissolve and then it would go belly up and he just wouldn't get paid. And he paid himself $1 a year. That was the first point to add in. And the second thing is that as far as all of these people getting into power, I like to say this. Along with reparations, we got to have that same 50-50 deal along with that. If it was good enough for China, it's good enough for us. We get on those executive boards. Doesn't matter if we have experience or not. They want to sell something to us. They got to come to us. They are coming here where they have to allow the black people in these businesses, in those board meetings. It has to be 50-50. California has it where half the board members now have to be women. So why not half the board members have to be black people that we choose?
No.
Not that they choose.
No. I understand your point. I get it. That can be a wonderful supplement. We need to have the same thing these other folk got. When you take a look at history, I want you all to understand history here. When you take a look at history, whether it's the Japanese Zaibatsu, look them up. Whether it is in South Korea, Samsung didn't come from nowhere. TSMC didn't come from nowhere. Your South Korean corporations that are in charge today, they didn't come from nowhere. They are fully supported subsidiaries of the government. So when you look at Japan and you take a look at Toyota and Nissan and Honda, and we can go down the list, Matsushita Electric, which you all call Panasonic, and down the list, LG and the rest of them. These are subsidiaries of those governments. And here in America, in China, TikTok, and the rest of them, subsidiaries of the government. That's, if you gonna keep up, if we're going to demand something, that's what we need to demand. Yes, having board seats is cool, but here's the problem. The problem is there's only gonna be 1 or 2 board seats you can have, and they're gonna hand pick some boot-licking, ass-kissing Negroes to be on it. That's the problem. So, and furthermore, here's the other problem. You do know that a black person can serve on more than one board of directors simultaneously. If you're aware about this stocks, then you know, by the way, you could serve on multiple boards. What's to prevent them from choosing one Negro, Candace Owens, and having her serve on the boards of 6 or 7 companies? And all 6 or 7 companies claim, well, we got a black person on our board. So just understand the logistics of it and how that can be twisted. There's a reason why we've been demanding from them direct cash payment, because you can't twist that. Numbers don't lie. Either you cut the check or you didn't. And once we got it and it's under our power and control, now you can't sabotage it and get somebody in the way of it. But I'm all in favor of more black folk on these corporate boards, but just understand the black folk they thinking about are their bought and paid for Negroes. In the chat room, they write somebody like Condoleezza Rice or somebody like Clarence Thomas. They'll go get them and then come back to you and say, well, mission accomplished, bruh. We got it together for you. We got it together for you. So just understand what you're seeing there.
Makes sense.
Understand what you're seeing. It's a good idea in theory, and I'm not against it necessarily. But I do want us to understand what we're really up against. They're ready for that. They're ready for it. We need to be ready too. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller from area code 469. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
It's Thomas calling from Dallas, Texas.
Thomas from Dallas, what's on your mind?
Yeah, Jason, this is insane. This is diabolical. I mean, you got an immigrant coming all the way from South Africa, getting more money than all black people in America, foundational black people. And what's so crazy about it, when the immigrants come over here, they get, like you said the other night, they get loans, they get housing vouchers, they get money thrown at them. And so what we got to do as black people, we got to start our own businesses. Getting on boards ain't gonna work. Getting these degrees, you can go get 1,000 degrees and you won't get the backing like these white folks are getting. And as far as Stephen Adams go, he want to stay away from black people. I want him to stay away from us also. White supremacy is the machine, and we got to understand how that works. And if we don't, we're gonna get wiped out. So yeah, he can stay away from us as far as I'm concerned, and all of us can stay away from us. We need to build and keep building. That's why I watched your other program, The Business. You're teaching us so much about business. We need to get on that and we need to stay on it. B1.
Thank you very much for giving this call tonight. B1 as always. Let me get caller from area code 904. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Daryl from Chicago.
Daryl from Chicago, what's on your mind?
Jason, another a flamethrower of a broadcast tonight. My goodness. You hit the nail on so many points and everything. And again, thank you for the breakdown of everything and letting people understand what this really is. And thank you for that. I appreciate that. My nephews is listening to this tonight. They gave him some big-time game. They've been asking all these questions about how billionaires become them. I said, this is the way these billionaires come. And you explained some stuff that was out of sight tonight. And again, yesterday's broadcast was fire too, as well. It's like a part one to a part two, and it's been fantastic. Thank you very much, man. And for those that are listening tonight, they need to take some notes on that situation, because you said something earlier to one of the other callers that we can do some things, but we got to get that reparations. We got to get that. So I'm all for that. Be one.
Black first, thank you very much for giving us a call. Now let me get caller area code 727. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Jason, this is Kenny from Lakeland, Florida.
All right, Kenny, what's on your mind?
So, I enjoy listening to your broadcast, but I was trying to put a immigrant onto you, and she's from Haiti, and she was listening to you, and she was like, "Why is he always talking about race?" And I said, "He's talking about the disenfranchisement that black people have here in America." And I was telling her that when her parents came over, they got it very easy because they got loans and they got all type of things that, foundational black Americans can't get. And she said, well, she came with that child babble. And she said, well, if everybody just set goals and work towards them, they can be just as successful as white people. And I was telling her, we can get ahead, but we're not going to be as successful as, a Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk. And she just kept going back and forth with me, and I just couldn't take it. And it just
brother, how old is she?
28.
Okay. Apologies to all the parents out there. Well, how old are you, brother?
I'm 35.
Okay, you 35, she's 28. Let me tell you, bro, she's gonna be a bum ass side chick. You pushing up too hard on them draws. You doing too much. You doing absolutely too much right now. She done showed you what the deal is. You following up behind every Brad, Chad, Rick, and Harry at this point. So if that's what you want to do, go ahead and do that. But just understand, she understands what you're saying. She coming to the table about that. Florida, the program I did last night shows you Florida is one of them places. That's the kind of folk who come here. With the governor of Florida keeping them out and every damn thing else. Once they come here, that all they're looking for is a white ass to kiss. So reforming them, most of them are coming over here to sit up here and be undercover, but they don't really have a problem with white supremacy when they're in the group of other white folk, with other black people. If there's enough of us around, they'll fake it. If there's enough of us around. But as far as this is how they live their daily lives, that this is something that they deal with daily, and this is how they identify, so no. So that's why the message has to come raw and uncut, because those who are on our side are already on code with us. The raw and the uncut is only going to get to the tethers and those who are trying to fake their way through it. That's why we make it raw and uncut, because they know it very clearly identifies them. But in her case, brother, like I say, she gets it. She knows it. I don't know how you know the chick and everything, but I she's going to make a lousy side chick. I would just leave it alone if I was me. Thank you very much for giving us a call. Now, let me get caller area code 415. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Don P. calling from San Francisco.
Don from San Francisco. What's on your mind?
I wanted to answer the Coons question. Why do you spend 2 hours on this subject if he's not so important? Because there are some people that are unlike you that need to wake up to the structural racism in this country and the anti-black sentiment everything you did, and you just pulled a piece of the structure down, but you pulled down a major piece. Because I've always said, these folks aren't smart enough. People like Musk, people like the hoodie-wearing cat that has the other social media company. They're not smart enough. They're just put into position. And so, they don't deserve these accolades because we are the most powerful, resilient people on this planet. Given an opportunity, we would show you what it does. We'd be flying around in spaceships and not this make-believe stuff they got going on. And what that is all about, too, that is welfare, redistribution of wealth from us to the 1%ers that are basically their puppets, the people that got the real power and the money. People like Musk, he's a puppet for them. But anyway, I did want to kind of keep this short. Oh, there was one thing I did want to say. My Moray did a teaching last night, and in that he showed a video of very powerful black men that were doing the interview about their experience they had in the music industry. These guys are so high in the music industry, I don't recognize their faces, but they have the ability to facilitate the agenda of these 25 men they met at a private residence. These 25 men and the people behind them, they were the investors in the prison industrial complex. And they had made guarantees that these prisons are going to be full. So they brought these music producers up, made them sign NDAs, and said, this is what the program is. We want you to change the music. They were shocked. They were like, we're out of here. Well, first they got outraged until they saw the guns. And then it's like, we out of here. So they escorted them to the front door and said, remember, you signed an NDA. And so they felt guilty for all these years because this is
not
where
so
we
sure.
are.
Not so
I'm
sure.
going to land my plane there.
I'm not so sure about that. Feeling guilty? No, I'm not so sure about that one. Thank you very much for giving us a call. Now, let me get caller from area code 708. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is William. I'm calling from Maywood, Illinois, the home of Fred Hampton.
All right, William, what's on your mind?
Jason, another monster broadcast. One of my pet peeves, quote, information is a raw material for new ideas. If they don't understand this, they want to be dumb. They're too scared to make a move. But I got a question for you. It's a little off what you're talking about tonight. But did you get any traction with the Emmett Till family?
We've been in touch with them. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, well,
I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. We've been in touch with them. We'll leave it at that. Let me get caller from area code 757. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Tanya from Virginia Beach.
And Tanya from Virginia Beach. What's on your mind?
I'd like to piggyback on the right kind of black people. Years ago in Harlem, Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, and Congressman Adam Clayton Powell's son brought the empowerment zone money to the underprivileged neighborhood, which was Harlem and Brooklyn. And how the white corporation got in is they said, they went to Calvin Butts, who was the biggest church at the time, and they said, we need you to push that we want this white corporate supermarket to come because you need the supermarket. So he went to his constituency. Of course, he was big. And all they were bringing was 400 minimum wage jobs. But in the meantime, he sold. Pathmark came, Bed Bath & Beyond came, and Ben & Jerry's came to Brooklyn and on 125th Street in Harlem in Lexington Avenue on the corners. After that 10 years, because we saw the terms was 0 interest and no taxes. And after that 10 years, 2 of 3 packed up and left. So they didn't pay no taxes. All the money went to the corporation, and black people ushered that in. So listening to you tonight, you gave the macro version of that, and I appreciate it because I saw the micro, but I didn't understand to what scale. And that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you very much for giving this call. And you're right. There's all kinds of little deals that have been cut across the board. We're thinking that they wouldn't move in if they didn't get help. Understand something. They tell black people that we have to earn it, but literally everybody else gets help, and not a little bit. They get enough to make sure that basically you would have to be a complete incompetent klutz to fail. They make it where you simply cannot fail unless you are just beyond incompetent. Hell, even in some cases if you're fraudulent. So when it's us, we're told, ain't no money left. You got to earn that. Everybody else, well, here's free room and board, and here's some extra money over here, and some subsidy, and here's a nice piece of land, and interest-free loans, even for civilians. Yeah, everybody gets help. And the big con job is when they talk to us, oh, you don't need no help. But literally everybody else is getting help. Not a little bit. Caller from area code 618, you're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Good evening, Jason. This is Miriam, and I'm calling from East St. Louis, Illinois.
All right, Miriam from East St. Louis, what's on your mind?
Sure. When you were speaking about how Elon Musk has all the funding and things of that nature from the government and his subsidiary funding to his solar project business and how it was in the tank, in the toilet, they are now beginning, well, they've been doing it for a while now. Illinois, and I forgot the other state they opened contracts with, and they are trying to push it under the Clean Air Act for us to get solar panels on our homes. And they, of course, are doing this in all black areas, and especially the impoverished part of the black neighborhoods. And they are have these tactics where they have these solar people contact you. If you even go on the page, these people end up contacting you. It's crazy. And they try to get you to get the solar panels, and they tell you about the battery and all that. And they also
none of these are black folk, though. You're absolutely right. They're going to go in the low-income neighborhoods and run this racket. Solar energy is not viable. And the reason it's not viable is because of a little thing called nighttime. So solar energy is not viable. We don't really have a solar energy panel that is efficient enough and can suck enough solar energy from the air to really replace, coal-fired plant current running through your house. It can make a minor subsidy to it, but it's not viable to replace it. That's silliness. Thank you very much for giving us a call. Now let me get caller Code 504. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
What's up, brother Jason? This is G from New Orleans.
G from New Orleans. What's on your mind?
Just a couple of quick things. Great broadcast. Number two, I would say to Scott Adams, as he's a cartoonist, I hope he could draw a long, big black dick and shove it up his ass. That's what I think about the racist prick. This is a guy, Jason, too. He actually blamed UPN's direction of going to a black audience for his show being canceled. He actually tweeted that. And the truth be told, nobody actually watched his show because it was garbage to begin with. I never even really paid attention to that cartoon, Dilbert. So I'm glad that he did speak on what he felt, because this is a way this opens up our eyes to see what these people are really thinking, what they think about black folks. So go ahead if you want to go live with white people and stay away from black people. I'm glad his stuff is being canceled. We're seeing this. The other thing I'd say, too, with regards to Elon Musk and so forth, this thing with generational wealth, if you watch the TV series 1923 earlier today, they even talk about, it's based off the Yellowstone series that's popular. They even talk about generational wealth. The character Timothy Dalton mentioned it, and he said, I wanted my great-grandchildren to have enough money the same way that I have it, that I don't even know what to do enough with it. Immortality is where my name is on a building and street 100 years from now when I'm dead. That's the closest a human being can get to being immortal. And the point being is that these guys, like Scott Adams and Elon Musk, they say the things that they can and get away with it because they have the power to do so. They have the money. Nobody's trying to cancel Elon Musk. Elon Musk's company has had racial discrimination lawsuits multiple times. And you got Gavin Newsom doing deals with this man. So we got no friends. We got nobody that can help us. We got to help ourselves.
It's not accidental. You don't end up in these positions of power. As a white person, the reason why they don't like us talking about white privilege is because they know it is. They know it better than we do. This is just the stuff we get from the newspapers and lawsuits and things that are publicly available. The conversations that are going on behind closed doors, they already know. There's nothing that we're saying, opining about, supposition about. There's nothing that they don't already know. The real thing is to get us to just play along. It only becomes dangerous when we stop playing along. Guess what? We're right about there now. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller from area code 206. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from? Okay, caller from area code 206 has been abducted. Caller from area code 937. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
My name's Calvin in Jacksonville.
Okay, Calvin in Jacksonville. What's on your mind?
The white folks want to build a spaceship before they give black people reparations. That's all I had to say.
Well, they've already got spaceships, so kind of late on that one. They already got spaceships. And Elon can be on the next one as far as I'm concerned. He can go ahead and do that. But what I will tell you all right here is I wanted to take tonight's program here to show you how white supremacy works. Scott Adams is the direct beneficiary of direct economic support for decades. And now that you're kind of beyond the point of being able to punish him, you're now going to see him say the real thing so he can now speak freely. He spent all these decades so he could get to a point that now he can speak freely. And, we would be well served to take a look at the older black generation and see how many of them sit up here and buck dance and skin and grin. And they don't act like this. They're in positions. Some of them got more money than him and they don't behave like this. It's not because they're worried of something getting taken away. Just recognize they're on his team. They're on his team. Call it for what it is. The whole point of this exercise tonight is I want you to understand how it really works so that when you start getting a little queasy and you start getting a little weak in the knees and folks sit up here and try to shame, you just want a handout. Man, look here. There are trillions of dollars in handouts that have been given to white males specifically, not even white men. I'm not even counting the white women. White men, trillions of dollars in handouts to white men, billions to Asians, billions to Latinos, billions to Arabs. It's only when we show up that all of a sudden, we can't really do nothing for you. The black immigrants, maybe we can do something for them. Because they understand and they know that any dollar given to us is going to be an investment in dismantling white supremacy. And you'll actually have to work for a living. And your lame little comic strip probably wouldn't have gotten picked up in the first place if a black person with a sense of humor had been allowed on Gannett's news service. Scott Adams never would have been heard of if they had allowed a couple of black folk with a real sense of humor to be on them services. When you talk about the greatest comedians of all time, who are you talking about? If you are new here to the Black Channel, welcome to the haven of intelligent black thought. We do this every weekend. Click that red subscribe button. Click that yellow notification bell. Join us each and every time that we're here. Make sure that you check your subscription status. As I stated at the beginning, YouTube involuntarily unsubscribes people to try to drive our numbers down. I want all of you to do the work here and make sure that you are subscribed and make sure you're counted among our numbers. And if you haven't been to our website, BlackChannelFilms.com, you want to go there and check out our groundbreaking, best-selling documentary work, 7 a.m. Gentrified Race War, all available on DVD and streaming. Go to BlackChannelFilms.com. That is BlackChannelFilms.com. I want to thank all of you for joining us here tonight. Thank you to everyone who has contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal, CashApp, Venmo, and even Super Chat. Thank you very much for your support. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of The Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, black is the future, and the future is uncompromising.